Salutations. I am Benjamin Talknofsky, but I much prefer if you called me Bloodnofsky, because I am a super villain. Yes, I am. Now you are wondering, wait a minute, Bloodnofsky? Isn't this usually the show hosted by that 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 little old man who dresses in a blue disco suit? Well, the answer to that is he has gone away. No, I have not killed him. Although I want to because I'm, a villain, but I have been asked by him to host the show while he is currently going on a walkabout to rethink his life. You see, the last movie he reviewed on this show was it was the Amazing Spider-Man sequel, and that's made him rethink being a villain for some reason. But doesn't he know that movie sucks? Oh well. Anyway, I volunteered to replace him while he's deciding on whether or not he should stay a supervillain. So, for the time being, the show will be renamed Talknofsky after me, Bloodnofsky. Yes, and on today's episode, we will review the latest blockbuster of the summer. And that blockbuster in question is the latest Godzilla movie, titled simply just Godzilla. And today I decided that because the the subject of today's movie is a giant monster, then perhaps that my co-host of the evening will be a giant monster. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Parallax.
Hello, I am Parallax. I have come from the deepest parts of the galaxy just to be here to put fear into you.
Yes, thank you, Parallax, for coming.
I am more than pleased to be here to let people know that Godzilla is not the monster to go with. It's me, Parallax.
And why do you think that people should go with you instead of Godzilla?
Because Godzilla is stupid. People like Godzilla. People love Godzilla. Monsters are supposed to be feared. Like me, Parallax. People fear me.
Yes, but they can only fear you if they know you exist. And the only way people know you exist is either from the comic books or the sucky movie that everyone has completely forgot.
I know. That is why I am here to remind people that I am Parallax and I am a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, unless people saw the movie in which they think, oh, it's that little piece of shit clown that the Green Lantern was easily was it was very easy for the Green Lantern to defeat you. Was it not?
Yes, but the movie was an inaccurate representation of what I am.
Oh, yes, yes. It was a very inaccurate representation. But we are not here to talk about that movie. We are here to talk about this movie, Godzilla. So what were your initial thoughts on the movie?
Well, when I first saw this movie, I thought, why did Godzilla not just destroy everyone? That's what I would have done.
No, no, no. Even though we are full-fledged supervillains, we are not here to give that kind of point of view to watching movies. We are just here to give our critical analysis on them as average moviegoers, not as supervillains, moviegoers.
Oh, then why did you hate Spider-Man 2?
Because it was awful! Both of them!
Okay then. Okay, I will give my non-biased opinion on this movie.
Good, good. Now, what did you think?
For a movie that has the name of Godzilla, it doesn't have that much Godzilla in it.
Oh, yes, yes. This is the main point that we should bring up in this movie. There is not that much Godzilla in here. And that will probably disappoint a lot of the people who are trying, who want to see this movie because they think, oh, Godzilla, he's cool, let's watch it. And then be disappointed when they find out, oh, wait a minute, we only see Godzilla for like 12 minutes of this 2.5 hour long movie.
Yes, he's barely in it.
Now, if I had not seen a couple of Godzilla movies before seeing this, I would have agreed with you that this is a legitimate problem. But here's the thing. I saw a couple Godzilla movies to get myself ready for this one. I, I'm not completely familiar with Godzilla, admittedly, which is why I watched a few movies, but not that many. I just watched the first one, the very first Godzilla movie. I watched the one that was edited for American audiences. You know where they implanted this American character in, and all he does is just react to the scenes that happen in the first movie. He doesn't change the plot at all. He's just there. He's just there to tell the Americans like, oh, this thing is happening. Oh my gosh, and this thing is happening. Oh my gosh. So anyway, then I watched um the movie Godzilla versus Gigan, where where where, where that was very weird because there were a couple of times where Godzilla actually talked in that thing, and I don't know if he talks in the other ones because I haven't seen them, and and it's very weird because his voice sounds like that of an old Jewish man, like he sounded like, oh, hey, Spiky Armadillo thing, we have to go, we have to go we have to go to that theme park and to stop the we gotta stop the three-headed dragon guy and the space chicken guy and the cockroach people and there's a hippie and I'm Godzilla. Yes, it was very weird. That's how Godzilla sounded in that. Anyway, and then I saw Godzilla 2000, where Godzilla fought a giant metal maxi pad that gave birth to a clone of Godzilla that looked like it had elephantitis. Anyway, after seeing those movies, I have also I saw it in MST3K a couple of years ago where Godzilla was fighting some bug drilled thing with the help of a robot shrinking thing. Anyway, the thing I've deduced about the Godzilla movies is that for the most part they're all like that. They all barely have Godzilla in them. The, he's barely in there. It's like here is the formula for your basic Godzilla movie. Um, you have a bunch of human characters. You see that they have problems. You see that eventually those problems are linked to this giant evil monster. And then around the climax, Godzilla pops up and he fights the monsters, and then he goes home. And that's it, that's the movie. That's pretty much how most of the Godzilla movies are. I'm, I'm not sure if there are others that break this premise that I have not seen. Like I know the first American one, the 1998 Godzilla movie, kind of broke that premise, but people said it sucked. So apparently it sucked because it went against this formula. I guess having Godzilla be the main focus of your movie is a no-no. But they did that with the first one.
And why was that considered a success if it went against the formula?
Well, because it was the first one, and I guess it's because they were yet to find a formula that would work for this to be a whole big franchise to keep the thing going. So then there's this formula of all these human characters. Oh, they discovered this evil monster. Hey, look, it's Godzilla. Let's have him fight the monster. He did. Goodbye, Godzilla. The end. That's how all these movies seem to work, it seems. Most of them, anyway. And that's the same formula that this movie has followed. I guess you got to hand it to them. I guess you have to give it to them that they were brave enough to think let's not do our own thing. Let's respect what was successful before this and stick to the formula of making the main focus of the movie the villain monsters, and then have Godzilla just pop up a couple of times until you get to the climax, and then you can have the epic fight with him, and then he'll leave, and that's it. That's how this movie is.
Yes, that's how this movie is. And to people who are not Godzilla fans, like me, they are going to be very disappointed that Godzilla is barely in the movie.
Now, to be fair, he is in the movie a little bit. He is in the movie every now and then, but he's not nearly in as much as you think he would have been after watching the trailers. But let's go over the movie, shall we? Let's go over this film and dissect it.
Okay, I'll try my best.
Okay, so we open up this movie and we are jumped right into the opening credits sequence.
That is so unusual. Usually, when you see the open credits. No, wait, you don't see the open credits. Usually, when you start out a movie, you go right to the title, or you go right to a cold opening. And then you get the title, and then there's the movie. You don't get the credit sequence until the very end, before you see the scrolling credits, the rolling credits.
Yes, usually nowadays you don't start the movie with the credits sequence. You end it, and then you get a little extra scene, and then the rolling credits. But this movie goes against that, and it goes straight to, and it begins right with the opening credits. And we see a whole bunch of historical documents and historical footage of that has to do with the Cold War and the World War II and the Cold War and all the things that happened in the 50s that we are led to assume is actually about Godzilla. And it makes you think of the first movie. And it makes you very nostalgic if you grew up with the first movie. And it has this theme of oh no, here's things we're hiding. We're hiding Godzilla.
I don't understand. Is this in continuity with the first one or not?
I think it's just supposed to hint that it is a little bit, but not really, because apparently the idea of a kaiju is secret to the public instead of public, like in the previous movies. Although it's very ambiguous as to which movie is connected to what in the Godzilla franchise.
I see. What is this kaiju that you speak of?
Oh, that's what they call the giant monster genre, the kaiju films.
Oh, okay. Now let's move on to the actual movie.
Yes, we start with a man named Dr. Serizawa, who was in the first Godzilla movie, where he had an eye patch. But apparently, either this is a loose adaptation of Serizawa, or he's a relative of Serizawa, since he has a different first name.
But you said it was ambiguous as to whether these two films are connected.
Yes, I am a little confused. But let's not let that get in the way of reviewing this movie. So anyway, so we see him and some British chick, discover this giant cocoon that has recent, recently been opened and let out in some kind of rainforest. And we see this big skeleton that apparently is of a less fortunate kaiju. Maybe it is the Zilla, since everyone hates Zilla and loves Godzilla. Anyway, then we cut to this family that lives in Japan, and Bryan Cranston is there.
Oh, I love Bryan Cranston.
I do too. And to the people who saw the trailers, they are expecting Bryan Cranston to be the hero of this movie, to be the headliner. Or they're about to be mistaken.
Yes, another mislead.
So anyway, he's about to go to work, and his little son is disappointed because he can't show him his little happy birthday banner. So he goes to the power plant from The Simpsons, where he works for Mr. Burns, and Mr. Burns is like, oh, there's some kind of earthquake or something that's happening that's causing the power plant to melt down. And Bryan Cranston is like, oh no, my wife is down there. We need to get her. And her wife, and throughout this movie, people are wearing gas masks. And that made me very happy because I regularly wear a gas mask. That is the war armor of my choice, is the gas mask, to signify that I am a supervillain. So, so anyway, we see Bryan Cranston's wife trying her hardest to escape this toxic gas that is being emitted due to the due to the power plant being affected by this earthquake, and so she dies, and Bryan Cranston is very sad, and we see the doors close as the wife says goodbye, and Bryan Cranston makes out with the doors, and we see the son being evacuated from his school. It's all sad, and then we immediately, out of nowhere, immediately get skip to the present where the little kid has grew up to become Kick-Ass.
Isn't he also the Quicksilver?
Yes, he is. Let's call him Quick-Ass. So Quick-Ass he has just served his country apparently, and he has come from war, and now he's a veteran, and now his life is going to suck apparently, because that's what happens to veterans once they come back from the war, is that they're not treated like heroes, they're treated like hobos, but whatever. Anyway, he comes back to his wife and kid.
Oh my gosh! He has a kid? He's like in his early 20s. What the hell?
Oh, the actor in real life has a kid.
Oh, okay.
He has two of them with this really old lady.
Oh! Oh! I am the embodiment of fear, and even I think that's disturbing and makes me quiver.
Yes, that actor who's in his early 20s is married to an old, middle-aged woman. Anyway, but the wife in this movie is not middle-aged. She's around his age.
And she is played by Scarlet Witch.
Yes, the actors hired to play the husband and wife in this movie are the same actors that are hired to play Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the upcoming Avengers 2 movie, which means that whenever we see these two passionately make out in this movie, we can't help but think about incest.
Oh!
Yes, that kinda ruins it for me when they get all sexy with each other. But anyway, we find out that, that Quick-Ass has been notified about his father, who has apparently become a crazy conspirator, hermit, who's still living in Japan, while Quick-Ass and his wife and kid are living in California. So he must travel to Japan to talk some sense into his crazy father.
Yes, he just came back from the military, and now he has to leave again.
Yes, I don't understand why Scarlet Witch isn't so pissed about this. He just came back, and now he has to go away again? Oh well. So then we cut to Dr. Sarazawa as we see him discuss that there is seismic activity happening again since last time. Apparently, it's happening again.
Yes, but let's focus on Bryan Cranston and Son.
Yes, Bryan Cranston and Son. So, Quick-Ass, goes to pick up his dad from the jail or whatever in Japan, and now that Bryan Cranston is conspirator, he has all the pictures put on his wall, and the stereotypical conspirator has all these pictures connected to things and whatnot.
Yes, Peter Parker also had that.
Yes, in my previous review, I forgot to mention that Peter Parker is a creepy stalker of Gwen, among other things. So, anyway, back to this particular film. Bryan Cranston has discovered the same things that Dr. Sarazawa has discovered. The seismic activity that is unusual. And he wants to find out what really happened. What was the real cause of his wife's death. So so Quick House agrees that he will help his father explore the quarantine area that was destroyed a long time ago. So we see them at the area that was quarantined, and it's all shit. And their house that they used to live in is now gone to shit. Everything is fucked up. We see this little aquarium where we see a little cocoon that has been bursted, which means something has came out of the cocoon, and I wonder, oh, is that a reference to Mothra, perhaps? Perhaps, maybe?
Probably not.
Yeah, you're right. But maybe it is, you don't know. Perhaps she is flying somewhere with her big mothballs. Anyway, wait a minute, she's a woman. Anyway, they get apprehended by these official guys. And they are taken to this secret base where they are researching and studying this other cocoon that looks a lot like the one we saw at the beginning of the movie.
Yes, it is identical.
Yes. And this is the one that we saw at the beginning, that they were studying. And they've been doing this all this time. Just studying this thing, not having anything else to do, not dedicating this kind of time to losing their virginity or whatever.
Hey, don't accuse Dr. Sarazawa of being a virgin. You don't know for sure.
Yes, you are correct. How unfair of me to judge the sexual to judge the sexual achievements of a fictional character. So anyway, they interrogate Bryan Cranston in this utility closet, which is a very weird place to interrogate someone in, and they study his discs that he was there to retrieve at the quarantine place, and then by weird coincidence somehow the cocoon hatches, and we finally get to find out what exact monster Godzilla is facing in this movie.
Yes, they were very unclear about which monster that Godzilla would be fighting in this movie. People were speculating previous existing monsters, such as Rodan and Gigan, and so on and so forth.
Yes, but it had been confirmed for a while that these monsters were original. They were new monsters called the Mutos. And why are they called the Mutos? Because of an acronym that I don't remember. So anyway, would we finally get to see what the Muto looks like? And what does he look like? He looks like a giant frickin' cockroach. A giant cockroach with a beak. So anyway, this cockroach is devastating this secret base, destroying everything, including, oh dear, including Bryan Cranston.
Yes, the people who were looking forward to seeing Godzilla starring Bryan Cranston will be disappointed in knowing that not only is Godzilla barely in this movie, but also Bryan Cranston is also barely in this movie because he gets killed a half hour or 40 minutes or so. I don't know. He gets killed very quickly in this movie.
Yes, he dies. Bryan Cranston dies, which means that the only human antagonist we have left is now Quick-Ass. Oh, happy joy! Oh, happy joy! So, due to the negligence and stupidity of these army people and science people, the cockroach escapes, and now they have to deal with it. And they bring in Quick-Ass to give him an exposition of this world.
I don't understand why they have to inform Quick-Ass about the problems that they face and everything that they would have told Bryan Cranston, because they just let him go afterwards.
Yes, the only reason why they explain everything to Quick-Ass about the history of what has happened is because they want to give the exposition to the audience in an easy way. So they tell Quick-Ass that these prehistoric beings have been around for thousands of years and have laid dormant and are only waking up now and have waked up recently, as recent as the 1950s, is because of the nuclear radiation, and that one of these monsters is Godzilla.
I couldn't help but notice that they mentioned that he was one amongst others.
Yes, they do mention that there are others. So maybe we'll get those other kaijus in the sequel.
If they have the rights to them.
Oh, those stupid rights. How come legalities always keep us from watching cool crossovers? Oh, we can't have the X-Men with the Avengers with Spider-Man because they're each owned by different movie companies. Oh, that is the bullshit. Just make an agreement already.
Yes, same with Kaiju.
Yes, same with the kaiju. So anyway, um, they explained to him that they tried to get rid of Godzilla in the 50s, 1954, which is what evokes that loose hint that they are connected somehow. Maybe, maybe not. They won't say. They won't say. So anyway, um, they say that maybe Godzilla is the answer, and that he has woken up too, due to the recent events with the cocoons waking up, thanks to them. So they decide that if Godzilla were to wake up and come out of retirement, which he inevitably is as they speak, that they'll be good guys with him. They'll team up with him. And I think that was kind of convenient that they would immediately go to Godzilla for help. They would immediately trust this giant ass feral monster to help them defeat these other giant ass feral monsters.
Well, think of it this way. They're trying to distance themselves from the 1998 Godzilla movie.
Oh, that's probably why. Because in that movie, they hated each other. The military and Godzilla were like, "Oh, I hate you!" And Godzilla was a villain. And yes, he was a villain to begin with, but that's not how we view him today. We don't view him as just a villain. We view him as a hero. Or an anti-hero, whatever. We view him that way. Not as a villain. So, anyway, so anyway, they send Quick-Ass on his way, even though they just exposed a whole bunch of important information to him. They sent him on his way to Hawaii, where he will then take a flight to California, and and somehow by coincidence, the giant cockroach who can use his wings now, his cockroach wings. The giant cockroach they call Muto, but I'll call him what he is. He's a giant cockroach. The giant cockroach invades Hawaii. He invades Hawaii, and he makes, and on top of that, Quick-Ass is late for his bus because of this stupid kid, which I guess is supposed to be a throwback to the older Godzilla movies, where they had these dumbass kids that were really stupid, and they got into stupid situations, and they got into dangerous things because they are so stupid, and we're supposed to be like, oh, they're cute, they're funny, they're cool. No, they're not. They're stupid kids, and they need to know their place. So anyway,
I think people will think that you're some kind of maniac now.
I am. What do you expect? I'm a superhero. I I I make sure that people get assassinated all the time. You shouldn't be surprised by this.
Good point. On with the movie.
Yes, on with the movie. So now that the cockroach is invading Hawaii and is about to destroy um Quick-Ass's shuttle, finally, we finally get to see Godzilla. We first they hint him in the waves of the ocean next to Hawaii, and then we see the little backside of him, the spikes that we saw in the trailers, and then we saw finally see his face, and we see him get up. He completely ruins this luau, but who cares? Screw the luau. We finally see him, and he's in the middle of this big arena, and we see him look eye to eye with the giant cockroach, and we think, oh my god, they're finally going to do it. They're finally going to give us a giant monster battle. The kind that we've seen in the classic movies, the kind that we wanted to see in the 1998 movie, but didn't because it was just him. We finally get to see it here. And you think that they would show us this epic giant monster battle, but instead they cut to the Quick-Ass's family. God damn it.
Yes, they cut to the family. Oh, they cut to the little kid as he watches it on the news.
Yes, they tease it. They tease it. They tease it instead of showing us it. And then they end it on the news. We only see it through the news that Quick-Ass's family is seeing. They build it up. They make it happen. But do we see it happening? No. We have to see these stupid ass humans who we don't care about instead of seeing Godzilla fight some motherfucking monsters. And it ends. And then they move on. And then we see Dr. Sarazawa. He does like, wow, that was epic. That was awesome. Too bad the movie viewers can't see it. Didn't see it. And apparently this was such an impact because now they're like, oh, we love Godzilla. Let's team up with him. So now they follow him around in their giant big ass ships next to Godzilla. And I'm like, oh, come on. I mean, I know it's logical to team up with Godzilla since the military hated him in the last American movie, which has nothing to do with this one, by the way. This is new. This is new. So anyway, that makes sense that they want to have this to have this unity between the military and Godzilla to show that that even though they're not that much trustworthy trusting in Godzilla, they're siding with him instead of this giant cockroach motherfucker. Which is understandable, but still, they could have at least fleshed out on that.
Yes, they could have. And also something else happened in Nevada or something.
Yes, they find out that their other giant ass cocoon has also hatched and has escaped. And that is the female Muto.
Yes, the female.
Yes, apparently there are two Mutos. One is the male, who is thin, slim, and has wings, and the other is the female Muto. Big Mama Muto. She's bigger than her husband. She's badder. She's got a giant ass. She has a big voluptuous booty. Like, this is Big Mama Muto, and and she wants to have some horrid, passionate sex with Mr. Muto and stuff.
That is disgusting.
But it's true. So, Big Mama Muto is causing destruction in the middle of America now, in Nevada or wherever this is. I am going to be so pissed at myself if that winds up not being the state and I confuse it with somewhere else. I mean, we just had this problem in the last episode where Graviton thought he was talking about Yale or Harvard or whatever, and it turned out to be Oxford, and he was way off, and he thought it was a part of the Seven Sisters or whatever, and it's not. Now he looks like an idiot, and now I might look like an idiot. It's awful. But okay, but anyway, back to the movie. Uh, so anyway, Quick Ass, identifies himself to the military person, and he immediately gets he immediately joins them. He immediately joins them. He's now one of them somehow, and he's immediately somehow one of them now, and he goes with them. He goes with them to check out this other Muto, this Big Mama Muto, and a bunch of his guys get killed, and the Muto has stolen one of those giant ass nuclear missiles, because somehow, because that will help fertilize the babies that the Big Mama Muto has in her big stomach. Like, she's preggers. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's like National Geographics.
Yes, but his. So, anyway, after his team of military guys is destroyed, he gets picked up by another military group.
Yes. And now they have to go all the way to California, where these two giant cockroaches are meeting, and and they finally get together, and what's funny is that it seems like Godzilla's only goal for this movie is to cockblock. Like, that's his goal. That's what he needs to do in this movie, is cockblock these two giant cockroaches. Keep that in mind. Godzilla is cockblocking a cockroach.
Yes, an image to behold
There's another epic image that we'll be beholding later. I'll let you know when. It's really epic, and it will be forever immortalized on the internet, hopefully. But I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. So now that the monsters are invading, they are invading California. That means that Quickass's family is in peril now.
How come these monsters seem to always invade the places where these main characters live or are currently at?
I have no idea. Plot convenience, I guess. So, anyway, we finally see the two cockroaches reunite, and the male pansy cockroach hands his nuclear vessel to the female big mama cockroach, and she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to fertilize my babies," and and she's and she plants the eggs inside of this building, and it's like, ugh, oh, yuck. It's like that episode of Futurama where Tiff got pregnant. So, anyway, um, so, then we finally see Godzilla again. Finally, my God, is he barely in this movie?
Yes, but apparently it goes as tradition.
Yes, apparently this is the type of formula that the Japanese were used to. Like, this is apparently how Godzilla is supposed to be. He's supposed to be barely in the movie and only prominent in the climax.
Well, to be fair, it probably was very expensive to show Godzilla because the guy who played him in the suit was probably very uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's probably it. You know what, now that I think about it, maybe it's because they don't want to spoil us with Godzilla. Because it's such a, he's such an epic image to behold. To see him on the big screen is so incredibly epic that we couldn't handle it. That our brains would explode if we got too much of it. That's why they used it sparingly.
But it wouldn't have hurt to add just a little bit more of him.
Yes, that would have not hurt at all. So, so, back to the movie. We see, Quickass's wife, Scarlet Witch, getting separated from her son, and she has to deal in the hospital. But then everything is getting too intense. Godzilla is here. He's fighting the two Muto cockroaches. It's too intense. She has to evacuate. So she does, along with other people. And now, as a result, the entire city, is this San Francisco or Los Angeles? I don't know. Screw that. It's somewhere in California. It's all to hell now. There's smoke everywhere. The sky is red, or like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show. Everything is to hell, and we see Quick-Ass with a bunch of his war buddies, with his other soldiers, and they're about to jump in. They're about to jump in to this hell, this giant wasteland, and they do. And it's exactly like that first trailer we got, where we heard that creepy music uh from the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. You know the one. You know where it sounds like a chorus of ghosts, like like that. Anyway, so he gets in there. He and his friends are gonna try to defeat the Mutos somehow. I don't know. some way it's weird. I mean, they have no chance. Obviously, they gotta get Godzilla in there, and he's fighting the cockroaches, and he's fighting the flying cockroach, punching him and the body slamming him, and he's fighting the other cockroach. And you know what's because this movie is modern, they have to keep it realistic, even though this is a giant lizard. So they base him off of how actual lizards fight by using his body to smash the muto cockroaches. And it looks cool. I give them that. He doesn't have to look like he's some kind of wrestler in a lizard suit. He can just be a lizard, except fighting cockroaches. And he uses his tail to slam one of the cockroaches, the flying cockroach, Mr. Cockroach. And the cockroach is dead now. It was too much of a blow.
He went down too easily.
Oh, he did have a big fight in him, but this causes a giant ass building to collapse, and that somehow hurts Godzilla. And we are supposed to believe that Godzilla is dead.
Yes, several times we're supposed to believe that Godzilla is dead.
Yes, and unfortunately this means less screen time for him. God damn it! So we see Quick Ass we see him destroy the cockroach babies. He destroys them. He gets rid of them, and this pisses off Big Mama Cockroach. She won't take any of that shit. So he tries to kill Kick-Ass. He chases Quick-Ass to this boat, to this big boat that's supposed to have this bomb or something. I don't know. But then the giant cockroach gets stopped. Big Mama Cockroach gets stopped. And by who?
Godzilla, who else?
Yes, and it's epic. You don't see it coming. You see Godzilla there, and he starts using he finally uses his atomic breath that he's known for. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, his iconic atomic breath, where his spikes start glowing, and then he spews out this fiery acid from his mouth.
Yes, he uses it earlier to fight the two before one of them was killed. But now that there's just one, he uses it as his last resort. And do you know how he uses it? Do you know how?
In that epic image that you were discussing earlier.
Yes, earlier I mentioned that there is an epic scene in this movie that should be forever immortalized on the internet. And it is this. Godzilla spews his atomic breath directly down the mouth of Big Mama Muto. He spews his atomic breath down the Muto's mouth. That should be on the internet forever. That should be an iconic image that should be immortalized, that everyone should remember for decades. For decades. They should remember where they were when they saw Godzilla vomiting blue Gatorade down a cockroach's mouth. That's what it looks like. Godzilla is essentially vomiting blue Gatorade down another monster's mouth. Like that. And that's how he kills it. That's his way of killing it. Is vomiting his blue atomic Gatorade down that giant Big Mama Muto cockroach's mouth. And he destroys it. And the Muto's body falls off. But Godzilla is holding on to the head. And he yells out, "I did it, motherfucker! I did it! I'll throw this on the ground. And he threw the Muto's head on the ground. I threw it on the ground. Oh, you know what? I think that makes up for the lack of Godzilla in this movie. I think that makes up for it. The fact that we got such a cool ass ending with him. I think that makes up for it, my friend.
I would disagree. But let's get to that later.
Yes. This seems to be too much for Godzilla this fight, so he collapses, and we are led to believe he's dead.
Bullshit.
Yes, I do not believe that for a second. So anyway, now that Quick Ass is in the boat, he's all tired, and you think he's gonna die because there's a bomb apparently. But then these rescuer guys rescue him. They save him, and now he gets reunited with his son in this big ass arena where everyone is being reunited with each other, and we are left to assume like where is and we just and we keep thinking, well, where is his wife? Was Scarlet Witch? The last time we saw her, she was being evacuated, and then it looked like a building was about to come down to her. Is she dead? Is she dead? And then we see this family getting reunited, but it's not Quickass's family. It's this random black family, and I thought, well, at least we got to see a random black family be happy. But then, wouldn't you think it? They finally get reunited. They kiss passionately, reminding us that this is technically kind of incest since they placed this brother and sister later. And and as I see them as one happy family, I think to myself, hey, remember when this movie had Bryan Cranston in it? Neither do I. Man, was he underused. And then we see Dr. Sarazawa being all sad that Godzilla is now dead, and he says, it was beauty that killed the beast.
I think that's the wrong kaiju movie.
Yeah, that's a thing that Graviton did. He liked to add weird, funny things into it. Anyway, but of course Godzilla is alive. Duh. He wakes up. He gets up and he looks like he has a hangover now. He's like, oh, last night was a blur. Oh, the only thing I remember was vomiting blue Gatorade into this giant cockroach's mouth. that was awesome. Oh, hey, thanks for helping me, guys. We should do this again. Thanks, military guys, for not blowing me up again like you did in the 1950s. I'm gonna go home now. Bye. So he goes into the ocean like he does in all the other movies, and we see on the big jumbotron that he's going home and is being witnessed by Kickass and his family, Quickass, and we see him descending into the ocean, left to assume that he's going to Monster Island, which I wish we saw, but whatever. Maybe he lives in a cave in this version. That's what they kind of implied, that all these monsters live in underneath the ocean instead. But anyway, as we see him descend into the water, boom! Rolling credit, that's it. That's it, guys. The movie's over. Go the fuck home.
Yes, this movie did not have a stinger or teaser or anything. It just ended.
Now, to be fair, it did. The way they ended it did make it seem like it actually should end that way, which is how most movies are nowadays. They make you think it's going to end, and then they show you a little bit of extra thing. But with this movie, the ending means the ending. Like, as soon as they show him fully under the water, it's like, boom, the movie's over. Get the fuck home. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Like that.
Yes, they don't set up for a sequel.
Yeah, well, it's better to have your own movie instead of hyping you up for a sequel and then to not have the sequel.
Yeah, you're probably right. So, now we give our overall thoughts.
Yes, yes, we do. I don't know about you, Parallax, but after discussing it and looking back, I actually thought it did its purpose. It brought Godzilla back into the spotlight. Sure, it seems like, oh, there was nothing special about Godzilla because he wasn't there for that long, but you know what? It's kind of like the Muppet movie.
What?
The Muppets from 2011. When they had that movie, it seemed like something they did 100 times before. You know, like, oh, we gotta get the show back on the. We gotta do a show to save the day. We gotta do a show, and that's kind of like what this and the reason why it was so good is because it embodied what the Muppets were all about, which is what this movie is about. It was following the classic formula of the previous Godzilla films to let you know, like, hey, this is what Godzilla is like. We don't want to change it. Let's have it be faithful to the original um, old movies from the 70s and 60s and 80s and early 2000s, and we just want to have like a love letter, a tribute to Godzilla, to show him what he's like. And then we'll do a big ass movie where Godzilla's epic and what's not.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
So has it changed how you thought about the movie?
No, I still think that it was a letdown, that we barely got to see Godzilla or the other glorious giant monsters destroy people.
Yes, there was a bit of a lack of there was a bit of a noticeable lack of giant monster fights. But they are prominent in the movie, I must say. We do see them a lot. Spread out, it seems like it's not that much. There's there's even less Godzilla here than the cockroaches, I must say. I'm pretty sure of that. But for the most part, it did its purpose. It showed American audience, hey, we can do a Godzilla movie the way they can do too, the right way, instead of the way we did it before where we fucked up. But that wasn't us directly. That wasn't us Americans. That was the stupid Americans. Or Roland and Emmerich or whoever those guys were. The guys who shitted all over Ebert and Roper. The Cisco and Ebert, sorry. Those guys. Fuck those guys. We did it right. And I agree. So let's give our ratings. Would you prefer, though, do you think that the viewers of this video, for the viewers watching who've not decided on the watching this movie yet, do you think that they should either watch this movie or have to impregnate a giant cockroach?
I think that that they would rather impregnate a giant cockroach because I thought that this Godzilla movie had the potential to be epic with its Godzilla, and I just did not think they utilized Godzilla enough.
Okay, well, I think that even though it's true they did not eat, utilize Godzilla as much as they could have and should have, I thought that it achieved its goal of showing America's take, a US take on a classic Japanese movie series. And showing Japan like, hey, we did what you guys have been doing for years, but we did it more epically. And and like I said before, even though Godzilla is not in it that much, when he is in it, he is glorious. Especially at the climax. He is just too epic. If Chuck Norris saw him, Chuck Norris would pee his pants and run away, and then he'd be stomped on by Rodan or one of those giant kaiju things. Anyway, I would prefer watching this movie than impregnating a giant cockroach. So that is the end of tonight's review.
Okay, I'm glad we're over. That was very difficult. Are you sure you can handle doing this on a weekly basis or whenever there's a movie? After all, this is the summer movie season.
Yes, I am willing to stay on this program as long as Graviton is not here.
Sorry to disappoint you, but I have returned.
Oh my gosh! Graviton, you're back!
Yes, and I have decided that I will become a supervillain yet again.
Oh really? Why?
Because of next week's movie, an awful pro-superhero, anti-supervillain propaganda film, the latest to be spawned from that horrible, horrible genre. And the newest one is the one where the X-Men time travel and rip off the Terminator without actually doing it because the comic book, whatever. I'm reviewing that next week, and I'm going to explain why I'm back on the saddle. Tune in next time, everybody. How was it when I was gone?
Oh, it was great. I invited Parallax to watch the new Godzilla film.
Oh, really? How was that?
Oh, you have to watch this review on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Parallax. Hi. So Bloodnofsky, do they have the original theme in this movie? Like how the RoboCop remake had its original theme?
No, it does not.
Oh, that's a shame. I'm gonna make up for that by singing it right now. Do